Greetings, one and all, from the White Mountains of Arizona. It's a beautiful morning here, and it's time for another channeling. Today's channeling, I know, will probably be challenging for a lot of people, maybe ego triggering for a lot of you, and I think that's a good thing. That's going to help us to grow. But it's especially going to be challenging for the people who kind of watch the news and believe that it's real. So we're going to be talking about school shootings today, and oh man, it's my belief, I'll just share my beliefs very quickly, that our controllers want a 1984 style government. They don't want us to have any power. They want us to be essentially slaves working for them. And they can't do that if we all have guns. If you look at every single totalitarian regime, they took away the guns. If you look at governments that committed genocide on their people, they took away the guns. And I just believe it's our only kind of real physical defense in 3D against tyranny. And so I also believe that there's an agenda to get us to willingly give them up. And so I also believe that there's something not right with these school shootings. I don't believe they're natural. I do believe most of them are manufactured to give us the cause, the reason to give up our Second Amendment rights, our freedoms, our liberties when it comes to firearms. So yeah, I mean, if you want, we may talk about MK Ultra today. I don't know who Tara is going to channel. This is one of those where she's just going to set out the intention of whoever can answer our questions the best, and that's who we will get. She's right here behind me, tapping in. There's a lot of flies. Okay, you're ready. Who are you connected to?
A white reptilian.
Okay, what polarity is this white reptilian?
He said neutral.
What frequency is he in?
He said 4.5.
Okay, so he's at the higher vibration of 4D?
Yes.
And a neutral polarity. And why is he here to answer our questions today?
He said he understands everything from a reptilian mindset, whether they're positive, negative, or neutral. And he said it is reptilians who would best understand school shootings.
Excellent. Okay. My first question is, Tara and I's intuition is that the vast majority of these school shootings are manufactured. Can you speak on that?
Everything within a cube is manufactured.
Okay. Let me rephrase that. Most of these school shootings are not perpetrated by humans using their own free will.
Free will is used in a sense, but if you're talking about manipulation of that free will, then yes, there's been manipulation of that free will in your school shootings.
Who is doing the manipulating?
My brothers.
The lower polarity reptilians?
Negative polarity, yes.
So this is higher than the shadow governments even.
Many of those within the shadow government do have human vessels, but they are reptilian, my brothers, at their core.
Okay, so you're saying this is the people behind this are humans with reptilian higher selves.
Yes.
And what is their motivation for manufacturing these shootings?
To instill fear, of course. If you're afraid to go outside your home, afraid to go to work, afraid to go to school, why, you would do anything to not have that fear. It is something that you do yourselves. You instill fear in your own children. Do not go to bed with wet hair. You will catch a cold. Do not go out after dark. you will get eaten by an animal. Although many parents would see that as benign. Oh, it's just a little fear. But so would my brothers. They would say, oh, it's just a little fear.
Murdering children is a little fear.
We are capable of so much more.
Well, yes, we know that through the adrenochrome, 9/11, things like that. So, what is the process for manufacturing these shootings? How do they do it?
There's something that has come about recently, a distrust in several human beings on the planet as it pertains to your vaccinations, particularly the most recent one, the topic du jour. But you have been receiving vaccinations for quite some time, from the moment of your birth till the times that you were in your primary school, until the times that you went on into jobs and you were told to take your tuberculosis tests, you were told to take your flu shots. What do you think is in all of those vaccinations? Possibly some items that the logic brain might see as safe. But there's so much more. A technology that only now people are beginning to question. Are these vaccinations safe? But really what they are control devices. If we wanted to control an individual, why, your vessel is pumped full of so many satellites. It is rather easy to control you like a puppet on a string. So, these shooters, they're chosen based off of all of the consciousnesses that we are aware of on this planet, and formulated through a database, which would be the most likely candidate based on their current mental state, their mood, their access to firearms, and if they have trouble accessing that firearm but are a perfect candidate, well, your government will give them that firearm. And they will carry out their mission, unaware that it is not fully their own free will. It is rather much like the vessel that I am speaking through. They believe that they are talking, they believe that they are thinking, but it is not her speaking. They are merely channeling, unaware, as they move towards their intended target.
So it's safe to say you hijack, not you, they hijack these individuals. Are they all of a very low polarity and vibration?
Yes, they would have to be at a particular frequency in order to take the information that is being given to them through their vaccination satellites. We call them satellites because that is what they are. They are not just something that revolves around in your orbits, but they are within your body, undetected by your technology on purpose, floating around, waiting to pick up a signal. And many times they're picking up signals on a daily basis. But when we would like to activate a particular human, then it is easy to do so. And they believe that the thought in their mind was their thought. So we need someone who is not conscious of their own soul and their own higher self. You've been talking about egoic numbers. These would be at your 9 and 10, 90% and 100% ego. Oftentimes, in a frantic state, a lowered vibration, not understanding their emotions, easy to manipulate.
Okay, so is it also fair to say that those who have raised their vibration to the higher levels and can hear their higher self, they're uncontrollable by these negative astrals?
I would say not 100% uncontrollable, as if you still have ego, you are still controllable to a degree, but it is how much control and how much effort do my brothers want to put into it. If they have to fight your own satellite system, we would call this your soul, it's not worth our time.
Okay, all the more reason to raise your vibration as much as possible and get out of the ego.
If that would be your wish to not be manipulated, then yes.
So the agenda is to instill fear, but is there a side agenda to get guns out of the hands of law-abiding citizens?
Yes, of course, guns are part of it, and it is easy for their flock to become fearful of something. Humans are always looking to be the savior of something, which means that they have to have an enemy. They have to have something to fear. And that is within an ego program. Always waiting, waiting. Who is my enemy? Who do I need to fear? Who am I going up against? Or what am I going up against? In this instance, it is an inanimate object. It is a firearm or a weapon, a particular type of weapon. And if we can get enough people to fear this weapon, they would be more than happy to have others be in charge of that weapon, perhaps their leaders, as they are trusted and voted into office. So many would be willing to give up that right. But it is beyond your ammunitions and your firearms. It is, are you willing to give up your sovereignty, and to what degree? This is merely step one. If you would like to look at the final phase, it is getting permission to breathe, permission to eat, permission to breed.
So even further than 1984.
The ultimate domicile, dumbed down cattle.
Okay, have all the children who are being sacrificed, have they agreed to this timeline, or is this a free will violation?
It is a mixture of both. There are some souls, I dare not say young souls, because it is only the vessels that were young. The souls are not necessarily young, so to speak, as they are not brand new, but they have decided to aid in the awakening. That perhaps, if you were to look at the light side of this topic, that the shock of having what you might perceive as a young person, a young vessel, exiting this world under what you might see as cruelty or evil, perhaps you might ask questions. Perhaps you might ask questions of yourself. How can we help humans like this, like the shooters, that we don't become quote unquote shooters ourselves in our own lives? Not that you would shoot up a dwelling place full of smaller individuals or children, but that you might ask, how did this happen? Why did this happen? But of course, the agenda being surrounding the inanimate object, they don't ask about the person pulling the trigger or how they got there, but more, just don't put these things in their path and they won't do these things. Just like if you had your own child and they had a, let's say, substance abuse problem, you might say, the best way to help my son or daughter is to merely take away the drugs, and they'll be all better. This is not how you solve things outside of yourself. Many of you know, even at a 3D level, that you at least need counseling, even though that is outside yourself. But it is a step towards understanding what healing might be about.
Okay, if they wanted to instill fear, they could do these shootings at banks, at sporting events, at places where adults congregate, but they choose schools because that garners the greatest emotional response from us. Is that accurate?
Yes, humans are wired to protect the youth, protect children. If it were a stadium full of adults, yes, there would be a sadness, there would be an empathy. But if it were a stadium full of children, your quote unquote future, now that might garner a different response, a wildly protective response. And in that lowered vibrational state, in that fear state of wanting to protect what you might see as the weakest among you, you would be willing to do anything.
Like breathe through a tube upon permission.
Exactly.
Okay, so the answer in 3D is to stop vaccinating, is to be more aware of the people behind the shooting rather than the tools they use. What else can we do to heal this and prevent this in the future?
It all boils down to your sovereignty. Many of the souls on this planet, many but not all, are here for the free will violation of sovereignty. In one form or another, you took away the sovereignty of another by never understanding the sovereignty within the self. This world reflects your violations for a reason, so that you would learn. Many of you see it as a prison, and of course, that is one point of view, because you cannot leave. Another point of view is seeing it as a school, which is also correct. You are here to learn. Utilize all of those around you to aid you in looking within you. And looking within you, you remember your sovereignty, which means that you would never again violate the sovereignty of another, understanding what it means, what that energy feels like, how empowering it is. In an empowered state, you would never seek to disempower another.
What will the controllers through the YouTube program do to restrict this video? And can you help us bypass those censors?
I can merely aid you in this information. I cannot do something for you that you can do for yourself and what you've already been doing. Intend that the video, or at least the information, reaches its intended target, so to speak. The people who would be most in line with this information, people who are ready for this type of information. And although this may not be everyone's truth, it is a truth, perhaps my truth from my point of view. And if people are ready to hear the truth of others, even if it is different from their own, then they are willing to go inwards and ask, well, what is my own real truth? And those are the people that you seek to align with. And of course, this information, as I speak it, and as I have already spoken it, as this video has already occurred, is in the collective consciousness. And that is a bigger platform than any 3D YouTube platform.
Wow, excellent information. I want to thank you for coming here and speaking with us. I love you and I thank you. Do you have any last message before we go?
Just that I want to drive home the word sovereign and sovereignty. That many of what you perceive as problems in your world, bigger global problems: genocides, wars, hunger, homelessness, child trafficking, and also the inner worlds that you have: low self-esteem, substance abuse, domestic violence, theft, murders. All of these would be solved with that one word: sovereignty. A sovereign being does not harm another. They see themselves in that other. They want that other to become sovereign as well. You find your sovereignty, you solve all the world's problems, including your own.
All right, excellent channel. Two videos. If you had trouble following that, I would recommend watching the Free Will Violations and the Weapons channeling. We channel both things, and that would help put this channeling into context. What did you think? You remember it?
Sort of not.
All right, that's fine.
Yeah.
We'll have the discussion in the comment section then. It wasn't too surprising, except the vaccines controlling people.
Oh yeah, I do remember that part. All I kept seeing was like bodies filled with all these like little, what looked like little satellites in my brain. Yeah, it was everybody is so easily tapped into, if we're unaware of our own soul, just kind of like sending a beam, into that satellite, and then, typing in something, and then it's like, oh, I'm thinking this now, or I'm doing this now. It's like so easily controlled if you are unaware, like, of what your separation between your mind and your soul are thinking. So that part I remember, and that was interesting.
Man, if we don't go inwards, if we put our power into the governments or whatever authoritarian figure, we're going to be breathing air through tubes upon permission.
Yeah, and I remember the very end, he was saying like the way to solve everything. Everybody's got an idea of like, we could solve things by doing this. We can make programs and save people by doing this. Like, but what if we all just remembered that we have sovereignty?
Yeah. So I think that's what happened to the Greys. They gave up their full sovereignty, so now they can't reproduce. They're pathetic. They're dependent on technology. Mm-hmm. We got to channel those guys soon.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, let us know what you guys thought of this channeling. What did your higher self say? And we look forward to seeing what you guys have to say about that. And oh, by the way, thank you for everybody who's gotten a channeling with me. I am grateful for all those I get to connect with, all those higher selves and all those beings. So thank you. Definitely check out my website if you're interested. And I suppose we'll catch you guys on Monday.
All right. Thanks for watching.
All right. Bye.
Bye.